Hi, it's Kat, and today we're going back to basics. We're working with our little books and I'm going to make 3 cards with different hints and tricks using them. First up, we are going to use our Sporting Silhouettes little book and we are going to be using our nesting dies to create a pyramide effect. So I'm going to keep my card base really simple. I've got a 5-inch card and I've cut myself from the Black Mirror card a 5-inch by 5-inch mat, and I'm going to cut myself a layer from Adorable Scorable, and I'm going to cut this to 3 notches under the 5 inches, turn it once, and the same again, 3 notches under the 5 inches. And I'm going to secure this into place using construction glue. And then I'm going to secure this to my card base, and we can leave that to dry while we work on the topper part of our card. So now I'm going to choose my page from our little books, and today I'm going to take the silhouette of the tennis player, and I'm going to trim this down just to make it fit more evenly with my die. So I'm going to cut this down to 3 3/4 inches, and 5 3/4 inches. And then I'm just going to cut myself a mat to 5 to 6 inches by 4 inches. But before we put these together to create our pyramid, we're going to bring in our rectangle nesting dies, and I've chosen 4 out of the set here. And what I've done is I've started with the largest one that fits my page, and then I've missed a die, taken the next die, skipped a die, taken the next one, and so on till you get your final piece in the centre. So we're going to lay these out on top of our little book page. And we want to space them with an equal gap all the way around and just layer them in. And just take your time, making sure that you're happy with the gap around each edge, and then secure it in place with some low tack tape. Making sure you're pressing down into the gaps so it's going to secure your dies to your page. And when you're happy that's stuck in place, you can put it in between your plates. And we're going to run it through the die cut machine. So we take that out of there now, and when we remove our tape, that should basically leave us with 3 frames and an inner, and then we can start layering this back up onto our mat. So my first one, I'm going to place this flat down onto my base, and I'm just going to do this with a little bit of using our prism glue stick. I'm just going to dab this around the outside. And then we're going to add this onto our mat like we would if we were adding the full page. We want that nice even border around the outside. And just use your fingers to press it into place. Until you're happy with where it's stuck. So then we're going to take our next layer, and for this one I'm going to take our foam pads. So the next layer steps up. Now with this card, there's many ways you can do your pyramage effect. You can layer them so each time you add another layer of foam pads, so it builds up into a pyramage. Sometimes you can start with your first piece at your highest point and work inwards. Or with this one, I'm going to alternate the layers, so we've got one that's flat and one that's up, so we're not adding too much depth to the card. So we work our way around with our foam pads. And then we place this back inside where it would naturally go. Onto the layer. Just take your time before you stick anything down, making sure you're happy with where it's positioned. And when you are, just give it a press into place. So with our next layer, I'm going to do this one flat again, so it's going back down underneath the layer below. But like I said before, you could add 2 levels of foam pads to this one if you want it to come out in a classic pyramage fashion. So we're going to pop this back inside. And press that down. And then this one will be our final layer of foam pads. So we'll just work our way around the outside again. Back into the centre. And then our final layer we are going to glue flat. Now this technique can be used with any of your nesting dies. You could use circles or ovals or the rounded corner dies, just whatever you think suits your image best. So I'm now just going to pop this onto our card blank. I'm going to put my card in a temporal position and I'm going to pop this on so it is coming above the top of the card. So I'm going to add some construction glue just to the bottom half of the card so you can't see it from the back. And then just to finish this off, if we return to our book, within here there are some sentiment strips. I'm just going to trim out the one that I want. We can add this again onto a bit of black mirror. Just put it down in the bottom corner with 2 edges that you're happy with. And then because it's only a small sentiment, we can just use our scissors, or you could use your ruler and a craft knife, but just to snip around to get 2 matching borders. Again, a little bit of construction glue. And I'm just going to pop this on the bottom of the card. Just to finish it. But that's how to use your nesting dies to add depth and definition to your little book pages. Okay, for card number 2, we are going to be using our Memorable Moments little book. And for this one, we'll be going to take 3 sheets out of our book, and we are going to be doing some fussy cutting to make our own decoupage layers. So I've taken 3 sheets here, and the first one I'm going to stick straight down onto one of our gold mirror mats. That fits absolutely perfectly. I'm going to go in with a little bit of construction glue. And because this is a lighter paper, I like to touch my glue right to the edge of the paper to get a finer layer. And we put that down in place. And then my next 2 layers I'm going to cut into to give me a decoupage effect. So first of all, I'm going to start by cutting out the bench. And that will be that layer. I've also gone in and I've cut out the tree from this layer as well. And then on my second layer, I've cut out the birds on their own. And I've also cut out the little present again. So we'll start building this up. So I've added some foam pads to the backs of my bears. And we'll pop these onto where they sit above. That's our first layer. And our second layer. And then I'll go and add some foam pads to our tree. So one strip down the middle. and a little bit on the back of our present. And again, just pop them over the original image. And we'll just layer up our card base. I've taken a 5" by 7" card. I'm going to cut myself a mat and layer from our adorable Scoreable and our gold mirror. So we want 7 by 5 inches from our gold. And then 3 notches under the 7 by 3 notches under the 5 for our adorable Scoreable layer. And then put this straight onto our card blank. We will add a few more foam pads to the back of our topper that we've created. Pop that in the centre. And then we'll just finish it off with a sentiment from our essential little book of sentiments. And I've gone for just to say, and we've got love you on the card. So I'm just going to pop this on the edge over the tree. And then we have a simple card, but showing you how to turn your little book pages into decoupage layers. Okay, for card number 3, we are working with our little square book of ballet. And with this card, I'm going to show you how to use the complementary papers in the book to layer up and make a bigger card. So I've chosen from my pad a main image, and I'm pretty much going to keep this exactly as it is, but I'm going to combine these 2 pages to make a more detailed background for an 8 by 8 card. So what I'm going to do with all 3 sheets is trim them down to 4 3/4 inches. This just means that it's a little bit easier to cut a mat and layer for them, and you'll see with the other sheets in a minute, I'm going to be cutting them in half, so it just makes it easier for working out those dimensions. So it's only a tiny little sliver off each side, or off 2 sides. So they are all now cut down to 4 3/4 images. And for this collection, I've paired it with some of our beautiful rose gold glow mirror, and I will cut these to, I'm going to come 1 notch under my 5 inches. And this is for my main decorative topper for the card. So I'm going to take a bit of construction glue. we pop that in place. And that can be put to one side to dry while we work on making our background. So now I'm going to take these two sheets, and what we want to do is find the center point. So I have worked out that this would be 2 6/16 of an inch, which basically works down to 2 notches under your 2.5 inches. And this will cut the piece that we've already cut exactly in half. So we're going to do it that way, and then exactly the same again on the 2 pieces. So just 2 notches under your 2.5 on all of these. And then we do exactly the same again with this one. And now you should have 8 identical square pieces. And now we're going to cut a matting layer for all of these, but I'll just show you a couple. So to get our dimensions right, if this was 2 notches under 1 and 2.5, I want to go 1 notch over 2.5. So you can cut this in long strips and then you can cut your squares from it, but I'll just show you a couple. So I'm 1 notch over my 2.5. Turn that round, and then you can just cut one away, move it up and do the same again. And you want to do this 8 times for all of your pre-cut pieces. So just take 2 of these now. And we'll pop these down using the construction glue. And you just get that nice even border to match the topper that you've already made. And then you want to arrange them out onto your 8-inch card blank like this. So alternating the patterns. I'm going to miss the one in the middle because A, it would mean cutting into another bit of card paper for a little book, and it's going to be covered by the main topper, so we don't really want to waste that. So we're just going to leave a tiny little edge around each one. And while that dries, we'll go and put some foam pads on the back of our topper. Now this is one of those images as well that you could also decoupage out like we showed you in the previous card. So we're going to pop this onto the top, over the middle. And then I'm just going to finish by turning to one of the sentiments pages, and I'm going to cut out a matching sentiment. You could do this freehand like I'm doing here. You can use your craft knife, or if you can find a matching die, you can also pop it through your die cutting machine. But I'm just carefully following the guideline, trimming around. And we'll go back in with that little bit of foam pad we've got left, trim it down, add it over the bottom there, and you could really go to town decorating this card up, but I just wanted to show you how to make some fun bigger backgrounds out of your little book pages.